Hey, you guys, it's Maymay, and it's time to work on stamples for this set. If you don't know, we made up a new word, stamples. It's where we're sampling our stamp sets and showing them to you. Say that 3 times fast. I'm excited about this set. It's gorgeous. I want to show you 3 different cards in this video showing you how to use it. Today, I want to focus on this single candle right here. I have an idea for it and some of our other supplies. So hang around as we make what I hope will be a beautiful card. So I know not all of you are card makers. I know not all of you are stampers. And we have a lot of varied interests in our Maymay world. I have been doing a lot of stamping this week, and I can always tell by the views of the video how many of you really enjoy it. And stamping videos for me don't get as many views. But I want to encourage you this. If you're watching today and you're not a stamper, here's the thing. I typically give you lots of tips and tricks as I'm going. So I would hate for you to miss something in a video that might come in handy with whatever it is that you do, whatever your craft is. So consider, giving them a watch, even if it may not be something that you like to do, because I do like to share tips and tricks as we go. See that candle? It's so pretty. I tell you what I'm going to do. I want to get multiples of these. So I'm going to pick this little piece up here and I'm going to flip it around. I don't know exactly how many candles I want. I think it might end up being only one on my card, but I'm going to go ahead while I'm here and give me a couple, maybe even 3 or 4, so I can fussy cut them. Now, you don't have to fussy cut them. You can use the SVG, but the way I want to use the candle today, I am going to fussy cut it. I even think I'm going to stamp this guy on some designer paper, pattern paper, because I might use that as well. So let's do that next. So tip number 1, if you're watching today, would be multiple stamping at one time. If you're going to take the time to get a stamp dirty, you're going to take the time to load everything up, go ahead and stamp multiples while you're at it. Ooh, do you see what I just did there? Talking. Let's flip it back over where it goes. But while you're at it, do multiples. If you're going to cut out SVGs, cut out multiples. Cut them out on different colors of cardstock. Then just store them in your stamp storage with the stamp set. So whenever you pull it out, you're like, you know what? I'm so glad I did this because now I have extras for when I need them later. Now this one is going to be upside down on the music, but I don't think it's going to matter because I don't think any notes or any letters are going to show. So I'm going to go ahead and do it while I've got it in the stamp wheel. You'll see what I mean here. See, nothing really, I mean, those letters, those notes, not letters, those notes can go upside down like that. Maybe not that line, but I actually think it can. I don't think anybody is too eagle-eyed about that, although they might be. All right, there's 2 of those. And then I'm going to see if I can squeeze a candle out of this scrap cardstock. And I can. I'll get one top and bottom real quick. So I ended up getting 6. I got the white cardstock, 2 on the music, and 2 on the red. May or may not use them. I don't know. I just wanted to get them ready. There's another thing I want to stamp. So the next thing I want to stamp is vellum. I'm going to be using pear blossom lights on my card. And a lot of times I like to have the vellum for the flame to come through. I think it's pretty how it kind of disperses the light. And because I'm using vellum, I'm going to use StazOn. This is the ink you want to use when you're using a non-porous surface and you want it to dry. And this ink smells delicious. It smells like cherry almond deliciousness. I love it. All right, so we're going to ink this one up. Now, I'm not too stressed about how bold this image gets, although that's really, really good. The reason I'm not too worried about it is because the way I'm going to use it, you really won't see much of it. Maybe a tiny bit of the black line of the flame, but not a whole lot of it. What I'm going to do here is flip this around and get another one. Another tip. Okay, we are stamping multiples, but let's just say you don't know what you're making. And before you put all of this away, you go ahead and stamp a bunch so that if you mess anything up, you also have extras. And since previously I stamped 6 candles, I'm going to go ahead and stamp 6 of these vellum pieces just in case I need them. So once I put my stamping things away, I won't have to pull them back out. All right, so let me stamp the rest of these and we'll get right back together. Now, several of you have asked me in the past how you clean your StazOn. Here's what you want to do really quick. While you're using it, right when you're done, spray your stamp with some squeaky clean or your favorite stamp cleaner. Please don't use alcohol to clean this. And a lot of people, a lot of manufacturers say don't use the stays on cleaner because it's not actually made for the stamp. It's actually made for if you get it onto a different surface. So I don't even use the stays on cleaner. I just use my squeaky clean. And if I do it quick enough, especially on these thin line images, you can see how clean I can get it. But if you don't, the thing is, if it stains your stamp, it's no big deal because a stained stamp is a loved stamp. If you listen to my friend Christopher, that's what he calls them from Brutus Monroe. A stained stamp is a love stamp. All right, so we're done with that. Let's go to the next step. Look what all we got. I'm going to take a few minutes to fussy cut these guys out so I'm ready when I'm ready to start gluing. I need to ask you guys an opinion. I feel like you're the experts on this. I feel like you will know how to lead me. So we have tried finding me contacts and glasses that will work for what I'm doing, so I didn't have to wear readers and take my glasses on and off and on and off. Not my readers, but my other glasses as well. And my eye doctor and I have had no luck. So here's what I'm thinking. I need you guys to tell me how you choose readers. My eye doctor says she can help me, and I'm sure she can, but I feel like you guys are crafters and you do what I do. And she doesn't exactly know what I do. And I'm like, if you guys have a good suggestion on how to choose the right readers to be able to see when you're doing this, please let me know in the comments. I really, really, really need to get better at being able to see. I'm noticing whenever I cut like this, it's one thing, but when I go out here, it's another. I know y'all don't really, a lot of you are like, we don't care to know this, but I need your help. So tell me in the comments below how you best chose your readers. If you're not familiar with what readers are, they're glasses that magnify. I have another tip for you. These little guys. I love these trays. I really don't use them for storage as much as I use them for work. And so what I've got here is I've got my candles fussy cut. Not all of them. I want to show you what I did. I cut those out completely. These, I'm still not sure how I'm going to use them. So I went ahead and cut two and left the flames in case I wanted to do something interesting with those. And then I didn't cut these at all because I don't know how I'm going to use them. But using these trays is so handy because I can put these here and move on to my next step and not lose them in the abyss that is my craft desk. Another tip for you. I need to cut a lot of foliage for this card design that I have in mind with the candle. I'm going to need reds and greens and things like that. The first tip I have for you about this is this. When you're choosing your colors, you do not choose solid red and solid green. Notice here, these are pretty much green. This is that thing I say about these are solids. For me, I'm going to use this as red and I'm going to use this as green, even though there are patterns in each one. It really does add to the finished product. It really is pretty. The other thing, another tip here is this. Because I need to do all of these, I'm going to just cut a bunch. I will probably have leftover. I don't mind that at all. I dig into my leftover die cuts all the time. So I will be cutting a bunch of all of these. So do all the work while you have your tools out, and then when you put them away, you have a lot left over. It's kind of like when you cook meals, when you're meal prepping, do all the work while you have everything out. It's kind of like that. All right, so let's get to cutting. So I have my die cut machine here to the side. I'm just going to leave it there for a second while we chat about another tip I want to tell you. When you're going to be cutting, go ahead and get yourself set up. Okay, I've got my die cut machine off to the side. I have my platform here. This is the platform with all the writing on it, all the instructions. I'm going to flip that over so you can see. This is the one I have been cutting into, so you can see all those shapes in it. And this is the one I'm trying to keep clean. This won't last, you guys. I will totally end up cutting into that. All right, so here's what I want to show you. I went ahead and I opened all those little die sets you saw. Okay, there was 4 different die sets. These all are mixed up. They are all from a different set, but they're all the shade of green. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out onto my die cut platform, as many as I can get on here, and then I'm going to run green through, multiple times, but get as many of these as I can out of here. Now, this particular platform I'm using is not magnetic. That would be ideal because it would stay still. This one is just not. And I just love this little die cut machine. It's so great. So I'm going to lay all these guys out. I'm trying to stay in a 6x6 area so I can put 6x6 cardstock on top of this. Let me see if that's going to do it. So this is my 6x6. I still think I could go a little higher, but not much. And these guys might be too big to do it, but I'm going to try laying this one right here. Okay. And I'll leave these guys out for now. just because they're super big. Now I'm going to place this down on top, put my platform on top of that, and then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. The beauty of doing this way is look how many green pieces I will get from one pass, even if they don't match. Like, for example, this is a Christmas tree. I'm probably not going to need this on this project, but I'll have it for later. And look how many I can get out of here. I'll just need to go through and pull them out because these little pieces with these little vines can sometimes be a little Velcroed in. So that now what I want to do, now that I've run this shade of green through, I want to run another shade of green through before I ever change the dies out. Does that make sense? See how much we're able to get by doing it this way? These guys right here really Velcro in. I want to show you. They're little, they cut, the stems cut, but they're so fine that they just kind of stick in there until you get them out. You have to be careful. I always want to be kind of a bull in a china shop, but you got to be real careful. There we go. Cute. I have one I need to harvest out of the die. Now, like I said, with it still here, everything's still laying here where it was, I'm going to get another shade of green and run through. And I'll just lay this one on top and do exactly the same thing. And I'll have two shades of multiple greenery pieces. Okay, so I did that pass and I want to show you all of the greenery that I got out of that. I got all of these pieces that I can now use on this project or other projects or whatever I want to use it for. Now I want to show you this. Before I put everything away, let's go back to those pieces we just cut. Do you see these guys? Do you see all the space that's still available we can get things from? So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch things around. I'm going to take all these off. Now I'm going to place this guy down like this, and I'm just going to start laying greenery dies into the open areas so I can get even more out of this page. Why waste all of this negative space, right? And we're already here. We're already cutting. One time, I think it was one of the Christmas in July, Shannon and I took out a bunch of dies, and we went into our scrap paper, and we did this. And I still, to this day, reach into those dies and get pieces out to use on projects. It's something that's really worth your time. If you're just wanting to craft and you don't have, this is another tip, ready? You just want to get into the craft, you don't know what you want to make, do this kind of thing. Just play with your tools and make some things for later. All right, let's run that through. Here's another tip. Notice that this is 6x6 cardstock. And do you see that little piece right there? That's the area at the top of the pack. I'll show you here, like the hang up area for retailers. Here's the thing. A lot of times we'll take a 6x6 page out and cut that off, and that little bit extra is gone. Here you don't have to do that. I'm actually going to be able to get a whole piece of foliage out of almost that little area. And you want to think like that too. If you have 6x6, when you're pulling it out of the pack, sometimes you can stretch it to be a little bit bigger than 6x6, and that is a bonus. Okay, so check this out. 4 passes. I got all of this greenery. I only ran it through the machine 4 times, and look how much of this we used. There's a couple spaces I could probably get some more holly leaves, and I may do that. I'm going to put these aside because I am working on this project right now, and I might need these greens. But isn't that great? So super easy. And I know a lot of times you're like, oh, I just need so much foliage, and it's so hard to pick exactly what you want. This way you don't have to pick. You just have it, and you can just dig through whenever you need it. And remember how I told you about those little storage trays? Another tip for you right here. On these storage trays, they are, the second tray is kind of deep, like it's about a thumb width here deep. So you have that one, but the top is also a tray. It has a little lip. And when you're working with things like these dies, you can just pick these guys up and put them on that tray. And if you need to move them around, they'll stay there because they're not going to come off of that little lip on the edge. And these are just so handy to use while you're in the middle of making a project. And bonus, if you have to walk away, you can put everything inside of there and put it away. So if you're someone who crafts like on the kitchen table, or if you craft on a TV tray or things like that, these are so handy. So right now I have 2 trays, but when I get done, I can put it all together and have them in one. Another tip for you while you're doing this, well, this is actually 2. So I'll give you this tip first. When you're cutting out things like this, even though I did 4 passes the first time, it's probably best to go ahead and do uneven numbers. So like the greenery is not so bad because I got so many pieces out of it. But like for the flowers, many times you're going to want to put something in like a 3 set, a 5 set, a 7, on the card. So go ahead and cut these out 3 times each or 5 times each so you have an uneven number. Nothing worse than getting to the card and having needing one more piece and having to pull everything back out. Also, I showed you doing this with like one layer of cardstock, but another thing you can do, this is a scrap I pulled out of my scrap bin. I folded it in half and I'm going to cut these little pine cones and this little flower center out of this one, and I'm going to run it through doubled up. So I'm going to get 2 at a time per pass. So that right there is another time saver. The only thing you might find you need to do here, because I'm running this through twice and it's much thicker, is to go ahead and do one pass and then bring it back through to give it a second cut. No big deal. You've got it in there anyway. Plus, it brings it right back to you on your work surface. Sometimes when you do that, it does kind of meld them together and you just need to pull them apart. And these are pretty fragile, so I'm trying to be careful here. But you see there now I got 2 for one pass. So a little bit of prep work and we're all ready to go for the fun part. Let's start making our card. All right, another tip for you. I have not designed this card on paper, just in my head. So this base or background that I'm going to build my card front on is 4¼ by 5½. That is the full size of an A2 card. Now the reason I want to do that is if I need the space, I have it. If I don't need the space, I can always come back and cut 1/4 inch off of 2 sides, and that will give me a mat on my card front when I mount it to the card base. I hope that makes sense, but that's a good one for you to remember. If you start with 4¼ by if you start with 4 by 5¼ which is the first mat size, it limits the space by just a little bit, but sometimes you need that little tiny bit. All right, so let's look at candles. So we did 3 different colorways because we did red, we did music note, and we also did the white. And I don't know if I want to use the white, but I might, and I'll tell you why. We do an advent candle, advent calendar. We're thinking of those too. We do an advent candle at church, and the Christ candle is always the white candle. So I think it might be pretty to have the white in the middle. I am going to ink these eventually. I think that might be pretty. I'm also thinking it might be pretty to only light up the Christ candle and not really put the light on those, have just the vellum. I'm not sure. Let's play. I'm going to do a little bit of playing with the layout and we'll get right back together. So I stepped away and I did a little bit of work. Number one, you can see I inked the edges of my candle. Let me give you my tip for candle inking. What I want you to do is pick an ink that you like, that you can use all the time, and kind of stick to it. The reason for that is it's very handy to keep that close and you're not constantly trying to figure out what color I want to ink this edge with this thing. You can do that. It's beautiful to change your ink based on what you're doing. That's a whole other technique, but it's really cool to have a favorite. My favorite for everyday inking right now is cookie dough. It does change because I used to love vintage photo, but cookie dough is so good. You can see how pretty it is on that candle there. All right, I wanted my wicks to be loose. I did not want to have to glue the whole thing down. A couple reasons. I wanted them to be the vellum, and I also wanted them to be able to kind of move a little bit, right? I wasn't sure how to do it, so let me show you what I did. On the back, you can see that when I fussy cut my candle, I fussy cut the entire piece. So that's a full piece of vellum here and the flame. And what I did on the cardstock was I cut the flame away and I glued those two together. So my flame is loose at the top. But what scared me when I was playing was just how loose that flame was. I was like, that's really going to rip off this candle going in and out of the envelope. So at the very bottom, do you see that little wick area right there? On the back, I cut a piece of foam and stuck it right behind that wick, and that's what's going to hold my flame down. Okay, I want these to live like this on the card, and then I'm going to put some greenery down here. It's time to decide what we're doing with our lights, and I want each candle to have a light behind it. So what I'm going to do here is kind of line it up where I can make myself marks for where the light is going to go. And the one I'm using is the Easy Light from Pear Blossom. And what I love about these, let me show you. This is 2 that I'm holding here. So I'm going to pop this apart just by bending that. This guy can be used on another project, and this is the one we're going to use. Now, I love this because I have these 3 wired lights. You see this? They are 3 little lights that I can use any way I want, and they will light up to go behind here. Let me put a battery in so I can show you. So there's a little button here that you can press. Now, these are going to get bright, so if you struggle with light, you might want to look away. There they are, the little lights. Aren't they cute? And that's what I want to go, one of those behind each one of these. Isn't that cool? All right, let's place where we want our lights to go. So this is where my candles are going to live. I probably could go ahead and adhere these down, but I kind of don't want to in case I want to make a change later. So what I'm going to do is hold this guy here, reach behind. I need to know where my foam is, and I'm going to poke a hole there, just a little hole. Let's pick it up and make sure I can see it to get me started. There it is. I don't want to make it super big. I'm going to make a tiny hole for now. Then I'll go back to the next one. I want it to be a little taller than that one. I think I'm going to use my white pen and just make a mark. Go behind here, make a little dot for it. There it is. I can see that one. Okay, good. Then let's put you back. Then let's put this guy there and make a little dot. It don't have to be perfect. And if I place my lights first, I can always move my candle around. What I want to do is have just large enough of a hole for this bulb to come through. So I'm going to stick this through the back, just like this. And I just want it to fit through. I want to even just glue it into place so it stays there. So can you see how that light just comes through and just sits right there? I'm going to light it up really quick to look at it. So that's what I want. I want it just there. So I'm going to turn this guy over, and I'm just going to use some tape to hold that down. And I may even come back in and put a little bit of glue there. I may not need to, because putting that tape over the whole piece, see how that leaves it nice and flat there? That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to do that to all three. Now on the back, you just want to decide where you want your push button to go. And a lot of times it goes off to the side. I'm going to see if I like it there. I'm going to go ahead and tape these wires down. You can certainly do this with Scotch tape. I just like to use my yellow tape. It's pretty easy. Just get those held down. Plus, if I need to peel that up and move it around again, I can. And let's see if I want this to go to the side over here. I think that's good. So what I'm going to do is glue this down, and then I'm going to mark on where my press is so I'll know where to put something to tell someone to push. I came out a little bit from the side here for my button because I want to give myself room to put something on top of it that says press here. So I got that glued into place. So we'll turn it over again. And now that is where you'll press, right here to the bottom corner. I love that. Let's put the candles on. I'm excited to see them lit up. Matter of fact, I might do a test run and just lay these in place and see how they look. Oh, that's so pretty. Isn't that cute? Okay, I'm going to stick them down. I'm happy with that. And I'm not going to color the flames. I don't think I need to. This vellum flame reminds me of my mother-in-law has some night lights that are these kind of candles. They're like battery-operated candles, and they have a little flickery flame that looks like this. And when you light it up, the color or the bulb is what gives the piece its color. So it reminds me a lot of that. You guys may know what I'm talking about. So I've got my pokey tool holding this with one of the foam squares so I can get this right where I want it. I might even light it up and decide for sure. I think right there. Perfect. Stick the flame down. Now the others. So now I can decide how I want to do my greenery. And I have several pieces that I want to work with here. I definitely want to use these long pieces kind of here, just to kind of start in the middle. I might even cut that stem off if it's in the way. So I cut 2 of those to kind of make that little arc around them. That's so pretty, isn't it? And then I'm just going to stack up greenery on top of this. So let me cut these little stems off. And I'm going to start by gluing these 2 down. Just go ahead and making that decision. From the middle candle out. I want to put a poinsettia in the middle, but it's layered and that bottom layer is too big. So I'm going to save it for something else. And we're just going to do a 2-layer poinsettia. And we'll put this here in the middle because I think that'll be pretty. And then we can grow with other greenery off the side. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to stack them up with a little bit of foam. And I'm not going to pop it up again. I may put a little foam under it here, but for now I'm just going to lay it here and I'll probably glue it into place. Then I'm going to tuck more greenery around it. If I need to add some foam underneath, I can, but the reason I don't want to right now is so I have room to tuck greenery. So I'm going to glue this in the center so I can tuck around it. Just like that. And then let's play with some of these lighter colors. I think it'd be pretty to have some of these coming out as well. See how that just brightens it up? Let's do that. So that's how I'm going to lay out the flowers and everything's glued down. Isn't that beautiful? I think it turned out really pretty. And then if we press the button, you can see the candles light up. I love that. Okay, let's put a piece here to tell the recipient to press. And we need to do it right there. I'm going to use this stamp set and the little dies that come with it. I'm not sure which shape I want to use. Let's pull this out. This is from Pear Blossom, and it's made just for what we're doing today. I'm actually going to try something. Instead of the dies, I think I can add this to a leaf and kind of make it part of the design. And I really could have done that if I thought even beforehand about this. But I'm going to stamp press here on this little leaf. I'll bring it up and let you see it. It might not be big enough, but you can see what it says press here. And if I glue this guy right down here kind of strategically, and I have to put another one on the other side to balance it out. For me, that's how I am. He'll lay right over where you need to press, and I could really do that and get away with it. I might could even move it higher. Let me see exactly where it needs to be. Yeah, I think I can move it a little higher. I'm going to do that. I think it'll be cute. All right, we just need to put this onto a card base, and I'll do that with foam. Now, you can make this where you can pull the battery out and you can replace it year after year. You can also, whenever you're going to mail it, you can put a piece of acetate between the battery and the little connector, and then where the recipient can pull that out so it'll make the battery life last longer. I'm not doing any of that today. I feel like this is going to be a card we put into our store to be a sample for Pear Blossom. So I'm just going to go ahead and seal this one up. If you don't know, when you come to visit us, we have a gallery wall where I put a lot of my projects, and then we put the QR code for the video tutorial next to the project so you can get to them if you want to learn how to make them. So this will probably be one of those guys. It's a good way to show how to use the lights. Just going to stick this down to its card base. It looks very simple until you press that button, and then I just love that. So I want to do a little more stamping for the inside of the card. And what I'm going to do is put my card base into my stamp wheel. And then this is the candlelight. I think this is so pretty. The little candlelight set for the corner. I think those will be pretty on the inside of the card. And then let's pick a sentiment. I think I'm going to use the one that says, "May the light of Christ bring you peace this Christmas season." And I'm going to put it a little high so we have room to sign. Put that one something like that. And then stamp those in black. Back to our card, I'm going to glue this to the inside. And there we go. The outside and the inside. I really like how that looks. And if you press right there, you get your candlelight. So pretty. I love that. I will say, in hindsight, remember that tip I told you about cutting this guy all the way full size? Maybe I should have cut that down just to frame it in a little bit, but I still like how it looks like this. And I could always ink this with like some white pigment ink to kind of soften that up. Let me show you what that would look like if I did it. Okay, so I'm going to use some alabaster white. Now, this is where things can go south, and it's typically where I mess up every card. Here's a tip for you. If you feel like you should stop, stop. This is what I do. I always go one step further, and I typically mess things up. So let me show you how I'm going to do to keep myself from messing up. I'm going to use my glass mat, and I'm going to take some of this off, because see how much that is? Wouldn't I be sad if I did that to my card? So I'm just going to take some off, and I can always go back in this to finish the card. Let me move that out of the way. I will not need more ink than this. Look how much there is on there. Oh, it's so much. There we go. It's lightening up. Okay, so now I'm just going to lightly come around these edges. Just to give it the tiniest bit of a white trim. Start less. You can always add more. That's another tip. Boy, lots of tips. See how that's just lightening up that edge? I like that. Now you have to be careful with this because you don't want to put your card into it. So I'm going to clean that up so that I don't rub my card into that area as I keep going. And this is white pigment, so it's going to take it a little longer to dry. Also, because I'm putting it on black, it's going to dry back a little bit. It won't be quite as white. So there we go. When we press, look how pretty that is. I love that so much. You could go back and add white on top of your flowers, put something sparkly in the middle, might be pretty. A bow, some ribbon here and there, but I love how that turned out. So that is my first stample from Light of the World. Let me show you the stamp set again. So there is the stamp set. There's so many other things you can use. What I love about this is that it does focus on the light. So can you imagine doing the press button light with the lantern or with these 3 candles that are already put together for you? That would be really cute too. You could also use it, around the little garland there. It would be so pretty. And all of these sentiments have to do with the light that Christ is in our life. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. It was super fun. We'll link all the products I use for this one below in the description. And until next time, bye now.